I now call Mr. Phol Gavin, Rapporteur.
Thank you very much.
You have 7 minutes, Paul. Sorry, but we had some traffic conjunction, is called like that. Call Rapporteur Mr. Phol Gavin. You have 7 minutes now, Paul, and 3 minutes for reply at the end of the debate. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. Firstly, I want to begin by saying what this report is not about. It's not about the wider political situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I've been given a very specific mandate to talk about the Lachin corridor, and that is what I've focused on in this report. I also need to briefly talk about terminology because a number of amendments seek to remove the term Nagorno-Karabakh. I oppose these amendments because the term Nagorno-Karabakh has always been used in all previous reports and indeed is being used currently by the Monitoring Committee, and I believe my report should be consistent in this regard. So, colleagues, I was asked by my committee to investigate the issue of free and safe access through the Lachin corridor. The committee recommended that I visit both Armenia and Azerbaijan, and crucially, that I travel through the Lachin corridor to see for myself. While I was able to visit Armenia, I was regrettably not invited to Azerbaijan, and I was denied access through the Lachin corridor. Now, there's no small irony in this event, given that the government of Azerbaijan has consistently insisted that there's no problem accessing the corridor. I could not get access. Colleagues, the key finding of my report is that there is neither free nor safe access through the Lachin corridor, and indeed this is in line with the judgment of the International Court of Justice and indeed the interim measures from our own court here in Strasbourg. So why do I say this? Well, because this is the clear message that I've consistently received from people living in Nagorno-Karabakh, from NGOs operating and working with people exiled from Karabakh, from senior medical staff at the hospital in Stepanakert/Kankendi, who explained that the only way that patients are being transferred to Armenia is through the corridor was via the ICRC, and that this method has been shut down now completely for over a week and was also shut down for a number of weeks in April and May. Colleagues, please think about this. How can Azerbaijan tell us there's free and safe access through the Lachin corridor when they themselves admit that hospital patients have to use the services of the ICRC to travel? How can this be described as free access? So, the lack of access has been the case since the 12th of December last, when a group of so-called eco-activists set up a blockade on the Lachin corridor, apparently making claims of illegal mining. I say so-called eco-activists because, in fact, many of these environmental protesters have been identified as members of the Azerbaijan military with government backing. Some of them are members of the Grey Wolves, an extreme fascist group, and all of this has been documented in the British Parliament by a Conservative MP, Tim Loughton, on the 24th of January of this year. Colleagues, there is a growing humanitarian crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh, and the current situation is simply not sustainable for the local population. The crisis manifests itself in many ways: enforced family separation, enforced isolation of an entire community, and the fear and panic that that engenders. Access to food, access to medicines, access to medical care, access to education. Schools were closed for months during the winter because of the inability to heat them. And this was due to the deliberate cutting off of electricity and gas to the region. Electricity cut off since the 9th of January, gas cut off on several occasions, and then indefinitely since the 21st of March. So the only means of travel was for people who were sick, and that was through the ICRC, but that has been completely shut down now. So I want you to take a moment to imagine the situation that community finds itself in, cut off and to their minds forgotten by the international community. And then there is the hate speech which comes from the very highest levels of the Azerbaijan government. President Aliyev himself has referred to the population of Nagorno-Karabakh as the contemptible, loathsome and hated enemy. He also made a speech in Lachin itself just a couple of weeks ago, and he sent this message to his Armenian neighbors. He said, "Let them know that we can see Armenian villages from here. We can see those villages, so they should not forget about that." And one further example, the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Azerbaijan Parliament actually referred to the Armenian diaspora as a cancer on the body politic of Europe. Colleagues, please, I hope we can all agree that this language is entirely unacceptable. So, my report makes a number of key recommendations. We should open the Lachin corridor, and we need to see it open, and we need all parties to abide by the trilateral agreement. Crucially, we need a fact-finding mission to Nagorno-Karabakh. This is really the elephant in the room, and it's a particularly large elephant. No one, I can't get access through Lachin, but neither can our Human Rights Commissioner, neither can the UNHCR, neither can UNESCO. I have to ask the question, what is it that Azerbaijan are afraid that we will see? I call for gas and electricity to be restored immediately. I call on both countries to work with the Council of Europe to adopt key protocols regarding the protection of minorities, i.e. the Framework Convention for National Minorities, and a Charter for Protection of Minority and Regional Languages. Colleagues, to conclude, the current situation is simply not sustainable. There's actually been no access for food or medicines or anything for over a week now. We know the corridor is blocked. I'm saying that to you, having done as much thorough research as I can, and without being able to access the Lachin corridor because that was denied. As we head towards the winter, they're expecting more power cuts. They're literally running out of the ability to produce any energy because the hydroelectric dam they have is now running out of water. The situation is not sustainable. A human rights crisis is developing and continues to worsen. We need the support of this entire Assembly, and I ask Azerbaijan and Armenia to do everything in their power to address this situation, to help those people on a humanitarian basis and build a better future for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rapporteur.